I'm joined with Terry Lynch from Power Nickel here at the Commodities Global Expo 2024 in Fort Lauderdale. Terry, thanks for joining us.
Steve, great to see you.
So Terry, I was just chatting with Ari Sussman before we sat down, and he was getting me a lot more amped up about what's coming to the junior markets. Every day we're hitting new all-time highs on gold. Every day.
Yep.
I check my phone. I didn't even check my phone today and didn't even look at the price of gold. Somebody texted me, they're like, gold's doing it again, and that's kind of where we are, but we haven't seen it flow into the equities. Ari got me all amped up that it's starting right now. What's your sense?
Well, hard to argue with Ari, right? I get the sense that the train is actually moving out of the station. And I think we talked at VRIC, and I said I was pushing in half the chips, and then at PDAC I said, or one of the other conferences, I said I'm pushing in all the chips. I've actually been in for a while now, I think it's now starting to pick up. These things rip, and then if you're not in, you're not in. And like I said to people, if you don't feel comfortable getting into individual stocks, buy some good mining funds. There's a number of them out there that'll do well. At least you feel like you're part of the movement. And then it's like, then when you feel more comfortable about individual stocks, then step into that too, because there's going to be some 10, 20, and 100 baggers. But they're happening now. You need to get in now.
Another trend that we're kind of noticing too I think about people sort of my age, I'm 40 years old, none of them have stockbrokers. They may have an investment advisor at a Schedule I bank who's telling them, you can't invest in these penny stocks, in these junior mining names, these small caps, they're too risky. I don't know a single person in Toronto who is under 50 that has a stockbroker at Canaccord, 8 Capital, Haywood, Red Cloud. And I'm sure that 20, 25 years ago, that wouldn't have been the case if I was 40 years old and I looked around my peer group. Do you think that Canada has a problem where we've systematically sort of blocked out capital from going into the sector?
That is definitely a problem, and it's criminal. I was in Queen's Park, on the Safe Canadian Mining file, maybe about 10 days ago, talking with a couple of the ministers there, and I said, amongst the other problems we need to address is how can our chartered banks, who control 90% of the financial assets, basically forbid investment in junior mining. It's absolutely insane. It's like, you're a Canadian company, gone through all the public listing, criteria, you listed, and 90% of the investors can't invest in you because it's inconvenient for the banks to monitor. It's complete BS, and that needs to be addressed.
And the frustrating thing about it is Canada was the commodities global capital, or commodities capital market center of the world, and It feels like we're kind of losing that to the Australians.
100%. I've been spending a lot of time with Australians, and we've got some significant Australian investors, and we're looking to do a lot more down there because they get it. They've actually got mining funds that you can speak to, intelligent people that know the industry, know what they should be looking for, and unfortunately in Canada there's maybe one or two. It's pretty narrow right now, and it's a tragedy really when you think about our glorious history in mining finance.
So what's the latest that's happening with Save Canadian Mining?
So, we did an interview after Beaver Creek. I was pretty exhausted. I was like at 53 meetings, and I got to do this.
And you're at altitude.
Oh my God. Anyway, it was on Friday at 6 o'clock. Anyway, we got it out, and basically we said, look, talking with the regulators hasn't worked. Talking with the politicians to this point hasn't worked. So we're going to go to Plan B, or Plan C, which is, hey, we're going to embarrass them with the truth, okay? So we're going to recruit a new face for Save Canadian Mining because I'm so flat out with Power Nickel, I can't do its justice anymore. And it's a cause that needs full justice right now. So we're very close to getting a really high-profile individual to come on that will run that for us, and it will be beyond reproach, I would say. People say to me, yeah, Terry's talking his book. I'm in Power Nickel, so of course he's talking about saving junior mining. So he wants to, he's got stock in Power Nickel and a bunch of other deals, and he wants to talk that. I guess that's true, but not that there's anything wrong with talking your book as long as it's a good book. But I get that, and I think maybe the movement needs a more neutral leader that can speak to the absolute destruction of value in the sector and the destruction of our country. What's happening, because if you destroy the capital markets, you destroy employment. And it's not just investors that are impacted. This is what people don't get. It's like, hey, the waiters on the restaurants that are shutting down, they're impacted, okay?
Yep.
You know, everyone's impacted. You know, you look at Vancouver, and the restaurants that used to be happening out there shut down. Toronto, the same thing. And it's like, these are just ordinary people that used to make good money and have a good lifestyle, but that's not happening because there's no money in the system, you know? And it's like, and then you go out to the communities that we're in, where we're active in drilling. We're a big employer in those communities, you know? And especially, like, you look at the Aboriginal communities, 10% of the employment in mining is Aboriginal. So if you destroy mining finance and destroy mining growth, how can we help those communities grow and become what they want to be? You know, so it's across the board, and I think people, you know, maybe with this new leadership, which we're going to continue to support, I think we'll be able to make a more compelling message, and we're going to basically we're going to raise, you know, we're going to go out and get at least 100 companies involved. We've got about 25 right now, and you know, I'm going to ask the CEOs in the sector. We're going to put in sort of $5,000 to $25,000 based upon, hey, what you can do. Can be cash, can be stock. We're going to get a proper budget for these guys, and then we're going to go at them, and we're going to embarrass the banks and embarrass the government, embarrass the regulators until they do something with the truth.
So one company I've spoken with in Canada who is, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to get into politics here for a second. I spoke with a company who is about to build a mine in Canada, and they told me that Pierre Poilievre is already in contact with them about how he can work to make the regulations move faster. Do you think that the Liberal government in Canada has done a disservice to mining with their blockages and sort of their red tape over moving projects forward?
There's no question that part's been bad. I mean, listen, I'm first off not a Liberal, wouldn't vote for that guy, period. Okay, so, but I will have to give them credit. The critical mineral policy was pretty good. They did a number of good things in that file. So, you know, I mean, I'm always trying to be straight with people and say, hey, yeah, they've done some good things on the critical mineral file. They've done some bad things on the environmental file in terms of the regulatory hang-ups, and we got to clean that up. And whoever comes in has got a job to do for sure. So let's hope that Poilievre will address that. I believe he will.
Okay, so let's talk about Power Nickel for a second. What's maybe a quick overview of the company's sort of assets? I know we've done this before, but there's going to be people who are going through our series and unfamiliar with the story. If you can give us just a quick little overview of the assets and sort of what the latest exciting news is.
Yeah, so Power Nickel's best known for its Nisk discovery in basically James Bay, Quebec, near Nemaska. So just a little bit south and east of James Bay, right off of Route North, so it's an amazing location. It started off as a nickel sulfide discovery, but it's become a major polymetallic discovery. So what does polymetallic mean? It means basically that your primary metal, in this case would have been nickel with us, is no longer your majority revenue metal. So in our situation, we believe we'd have probably equal parts nickel, copper, and what we call noble metals, so PGEs plus gold and silver, probably 33% each. Polymetallics are super rare. They're also super big. So we've delivered some unbelievable results over the last, I guess we've reported on almost 30 holes, hit on 25 of them. Half of them have been like 10 meters or 10%, which is crazy numbers. And I think the public hasn't really translated it, because if I reeled off 100 holes of 1%, they'd be like, oh my God, you know. But last week we did 32 meters of 7% copper equivalent. Think about that. So you know, it's a crazy discovery. It's analogous to other giant polymetallic discoveries. You know, Sakatti would be like a smaller one. It's in Finland. It's owned by Anglo American. A bigger one would be Norilsk. You know, and Norilsk is the only $1 trillion deposit in the world, $1.4 trillion. And a fact I found out at our exploration meetings last week, which I didn't know, and I'm sure almost nobody else knows, is that 90% of that value is in 1 square kilometer. So think about that. You got $1 trillion worth of minerals in the ground in 1 square kilometer at Norilsk in Russia. And it's not just nickel or palladium. It produced 20 million ounces of gold. The neat thing about our you know, Steve Beresford, Dr. Steve Beresford, who's you know, on our board now and was formerly chief geo at First Quantum and then MMG and IGO, he believes we'll have 11 paying minerals here. So this thing is hopping on all cylinders right now, and it's super exciting.
Okay, so if I'm watching Power Nickel, what am I looking out for over like the near term in terms of news flow?
Yeah, so you're looking for more assay results to confirm the exploration success. So we'll have some, we got 2 more sets of assays coming from the summer program. We've been drilling now for a week. We're drilling, we've got a 30,000 meter program fully funded that'll go from now with 3 rigs until the end of April next year. So continuing to expand the line zone. It's you know, our last hole which was our best hole was only at 110 meters. So at 110 meters, we had 32 meters of 7% copper equivalent. So we're continuing to push west along that frame. So we're open to the west and we're open at depth. So and then it looks like there's folds and there's open on either side of that. So it's got some amazing asymmetric upside on the exploration side. So we think we'll just continue to report, you know, more impressive assays. So people should start to do the resource calculations in their heads and realize what that could be. And the other interesting thing I would say to folks is that people have no concept of how big this is going to be. Okay, this is going to be a big discovery. You know, people think 30 minutes at 7%. They're thinking, well, that's sort of smallish. But you know, we're putting together some impressive tonnage. And the interesting sidebar I would say is that this is copper sulfide we're finding. Okay. And wherever you find like a ton of copper sulfide in these polymetallic systems, these orthomagnetic systems, historically it probably would have been generated with 5 to 7 tons of nickel sulfide. Now, will they be there? That part that seems to be seen, but generally speaking, that's likely to happen. Right now, we've got around, we've posted 7.1 million tons of 43101 nickel, probably a little over 8 now with all the work we've already done. So we're growing that, but this copper sulfide now has become so, you know, so rich, we had to sort of focus on that. But the more of that we find, the more likelihood we're going to find at depth a much bigger nickel sulfide resource. So people need to start thinking of us as, hey, could they be the next Voisey's Bay? And we bloody well could be. So people need to wake up.
Well, Terry, I appreciate you taking time to sit down here. You always get me excited, and as a shareholder of Power Nickel, I'm really appreciate how hard you work and everything you do. I say it to every time I see you, but you know, all these conferences, I don't know why there aren't more CEOs trying to come to these things, doing their thing, and yeah. I see you at every single one of these things, out there doing everything you can for your shareholders, and that's something I always appreciate. Well, Steve, we appreciate you as a shareholder. You're doing a good job advocating for the cause, and you know, I mean, it's a great time to be looking at this sector, man. You know, like as your previous interview about now's the time. I think now's the time. You know, it really is. So it's exciting time. So let's hope we get a lot more crowds at these things. Yeah. You know, but in a way, I think that'll be the test, right? The litmus test is that people need to start to get off their wallet, and once they start doing that, they'll start to come out because they'll want to learn more and obviously make better decisions. So I think that's exciting for the whole space. Thanks, Terry. Cheers, man.